The path of the Stoic warrior does not begin with battle. It begins with silence. When the world grows too loud, when people chase glory, approval, and comfort, the Stoic walks away. He does not run from the world. He steps back from it and to see it clearly. For there is a kind of vision that only solitude gives, a kind of strength that only quiet reveals. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, commander of armies, ruler of millions, spent his nights not in celebration, but in contemplation. He wrote not for others, but for himself. A warrior's journal of the soul. He understood that the hardest victory is not over men, but over one's own mind. He said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. And to begin truly living, one must first learn to walk alone." The Stoic warrior is not afraid of solitude. He seeks it. He knows that solitude is not loneliness. It is alignment. It is the moment when the mind returns home to itself. If you are never alone, you cannot know yourself. Most men drown in distraction. They fear being alone because it forces them to face their own reflection, their flaws, their regrets, their truth. But the Stoic understands that self-knowledge is the foundation of all power. He embraces solitude not as punishment, but as purification. When others panic, the Stoic listens. When others react, he observes. When others seek noise to drown their thoughts, he sharpens his reason in quiet. This is the discipline of solitude, to sit with your thoughts and not run from them, to face the chaos inside until it becomes calm. For the Stoic warrior knows, a man who cannot be alone is a man who cannot be free. The Stoic warrior walks among men, but he does not follow them. He lives in the world, but not of it. The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth. The crowd seeks comfort. The Stoic seeks clarity. The crowd fears rejection. The Stoic fears corruption of the soul. There is nothing noble in being swept away by the noise of others. There is only strength in walking your path, even when you walk it alone. Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those you can improve, and yet sometimes there are none. Sometimes the Stoic must walk without companions, trusting only in his principles. It is a lonely road, but the summit of virtue is never crowded. Solitude is the forge where discipline is made. In the absence of applause, the Stoic learns to validate himself. In the absence of comfort, he finds endurance. In the absence of praise, he finds purpose. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery requires silence, to listen to the whisper beneath the noise, to distinguish the voice of reason from the voice of fear. It is in solitude that the Stoic tests his will. Can he rise without motivation? Can he act without recognition? Can he stay calm when no one is watching? These are the questions that separate the warrior from the wanderer. To walk alone is to meet yourself, the self that hides behind the mask of habit and distraction. You will see your weakness. You will see your fear. But if you do not run, you will also see your strength. And that strength, that calm, immovable center, is the beginning of the Stoic path. The world worships noise. The Stoic worships stillness. The world chases validation. The Stoic builds virtue. The world fears solitude. The Stoic is born within it, because the warrior who can stand alone can never be defeated. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So choose your thoughts as a soldier chooses his weapon, carefully, deliberately, with purpose. And remember this, to walk alone is not to be lonely. It is to walk with strength, with truth, with yourself." The Stoic warrior's strength is not in his sword, but in his silence. Every great battle begins long before the first strike, in the stillness of morning, when the mind is sharpened and the heart is made ready. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I must go to work as a human being." This is where discipline begins, not with loud declarations, but with quiet consistency. Every sunrise is a summons to rise, to act, to endure. The Stoic morning is not filled with chaos or hurry. It is sacred, a meeting between body, mind, and virtue. Marcus faced armies and politics, but his first enemy was comfort, the warmth of the bed, the temptation of delay. So he trained his body as he trained his mind, to obey reason, not indulgence. Epictetus said, "If you would be good, first believe that you are bad." Meaning, if you wish to grow stronger, you must first recognize the parts of you that resist discipline. The Stoic does not wait for motivation. He acts from principle. He knows that control begins not with grand gestures, but with small, deliberate victories. Write, reflect, prepare. These were the rituals of the Stoic warrior. Seneca wrote letters to his friends, not to boast, but to remind himself of truth. Marcus wrote to his soul, reminding it not to be ruled by emotion, and so must you. Each morning, set your intention. Ask, what kind of man will I be today? Then, live that answer. Because if you do not choose your discipline, the world will choose your distraction. The Stoic warrior knows that pleasure left unchecked becomes poison. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor. The world will tempt you to overconsume, to overthink, to overreact. But the Stoic trains in restraint. He knows that moderation is power disguised as peace. He does not deny joy. He redefines it. To the Stoic, joy is not indulgence. It is mastery. It is the satisfaction of knowing you could, but you choose not to. Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them. When you control desire, you control yourself. When you control yourself, no one can control you. There is a strength that does not shout. There is a courage that makes no sound. The Stoic warrior speaks only when needed, not to be heard, but to bring harmony to chaos. Marcus wrote, the best answer to anger is silence. In a world of noise and opinion, to stay silent is an act of rebellion. To stay calm is an act of mastery. Seneca said, speech is a mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he. The Stoic warrior guards his tongue as he guards his sword, for both can wound, and both can save. So he practices stillness, one not out of fear, but out of wisdom, line of solitude, to rise early, to move with purpose, to live in silence long enough to hear your own soul speak. The Stoic knows that the world is not conquered through force, but through focus. Every moment of silence is a sharpening of the mind. Every act of restraint is a victory unseen, and every day that begins in stillness becomes a day ruled by clarity. The Stoic warrior's strength is not built in battlefields. It is forged in the quiet mornings no one sees. He conquers his weakness before he faces his enemies. He disciplines his thoughts before he moves his hands. He knows that when the storm comes, the calm mind will be the last to break. So rise early, speak less, desire little, and you will discover what Marcus Aurelius discovered, that control is not power over others but peace within yourself. Every warrior faces two enemies, the one before him and the one within him. The first can wound the flesh. The second can destroy the soul. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He ruled an empire under siege, but his true struggle was not against tribes or traitors. It was against impatience, anger, and despair. He wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That realization was his weapon, the sword that cut through chaos. Fear visits every man, but only the weak mistake it for truth. Epictetus taught, "We suffer not from things themselves, but from our judgment about them." Fear is the imagination turned against us, a shadow that grows in proportion to our attention. The Stoic warrior does not deny fear. He studies it. He asks, "What is this thing I dread?" He examines it piece by piece until the monster becomes manageable. If it is endurable, then endure it. If it is not, then it will end soon. To fear the inevitable is to fight the ocean. The Stoic stands firm, knowing that storms do not last me, but strength once tested endures forever. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is mastery over it, and the warrior who learns to master fear discovers a truth deeper than bravery, that most of what we fear never truly happens. The Stoic does not pray for safety. He trains for resilience. There are days when even emperors doubt themselves, days when the mind whispers, "You are not enough." Seneca wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." Doubt creeps in like smoke, invisible, but suffocating. The Stoic warrior confronts it not with arrogance, but with action. He moves forward despite uncertainty. He acts, even when his confidence falters, because the Stoic knows, you do not need to be certain to be steady. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The mind finds peace not in knowing everything, but in doing what is right, again and again, until virtue becomes instinct. When doubt whispers, the Stoic answers with discipline. When confusion clouds the mind, he returns to his duty. Doubt is the test of conviction. Fear is the forge of courage. And through both, the Stoic becomes unbreakable. Anger, sadness, despair. These are not enemies to destroy. They are forces to understand. Seneca warned, "Anger is a temporary madness. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings." The Stoic warrior does not suppress emotion, and he transforms it. He turns anger into awareness, grief into gratitude, pain into perspective. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He understood that emotions are not obstacles, they are opportunities to strengthen the soul. To feel deeply is human. To respond wisely is divine. The Stoic warrior channels feeling into virtue. He learns that emotion, when governed by wisdom, becomes compassion, but when left wild, it becomes destruction. So he trains, not to feel less, but to feel rightly. Every battle within the Stoic mind is fought on two fronts, reason and reaction. Each time he chooses calm over chaos, he wins. Each time he holds his silence instead of rage, he conquers. Each time he acts by principle instead of impulse, he ascends. These are the unseen victories, the quiet wars that make men wise. The war within never ends, but peace is not the absence of battle. It is the mastery of self amid the storm. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, betrayals, and endless wars, yet his calm endured. Because he learned that control is not found in conquering the world, but in conquering one's mind. Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look there. That is the mark of the Stoic warrior, to fight endlessly, but never against himself. The Stoic warrior does not fight for victory. He fights for virtue, for what is strength without justice? What is courage without wisdom? What is power without restraint? Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all taught one unshakable truth, that the greatest empire a man can rule is himself. The world measures greatness by titles, wealth, and triumphs. The Stoic measures it by mastery, of thought, of action, of self. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And so the Stoic warrior builds his life upon the four unbreakable pillars of virtue: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom is not knowledge. It is clarity. The Stoic warrior seeks truth not to appear intelligent but to act rightly. Ignorance is the cause of fear. And so the wise man studies life, not to escape it, but to face it with understanding. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen twice as much as we speak." Wisdom is patience. It is the strength to pause before reacting, to see beyond impulse and emotion. Marcus Aurelius ruled millions, yet he listened more than he commanded. For he knew that true authority comes not from control but from comprehension, and the roar of victory. It is the whisper of endurance. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. The Stoic warrior knows fear but does not kneel to it. He stands firm not because he feels brave but because he chooses action over hesitation. If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Courage is obedience to reason in the face of uncertainty. It is rising when the world pushes you down. It is speaking truth when silence is safer. It is holding your principles when everyone else has surrendered theirs. The Stoic warrior does not seek danger. He seeks discipline. Because courage without wisdom is recklessness, but courage guided by virtue is power purified. Justice, the virtue that binds man to man and the world to order. Marcus Aurelius ruled as emperor, but he lived as a servant of reason. What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. To the Stoic, justice is not revenge. It is fairness. It is living in harmony with others, acting rightly even when unseen. Seek not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and you will go on well. The Stoic warrior does not demand the world be fair. He becomes fairness itself. He leads without cruelty, commands without pride, and serves without seeking reward. For justice is the truest test of strength, to do right even when wronged. Temperance, the hardest virtue and the most essential. It is self-control when the world tempts you to excess. It is composure when emotion burns. It is balance in a world of extremes. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. The Stoic warrior chooses few things, but does them completely. He restrains his desires, not because he fears pleasure, but because he refuses to be ruled by it. If you seek tranquility, do less. Or more accurately, do what's essential. The Stoic does not chase every opportunity. He masters one, himself. These 4 virtues are the foundation of the Stoic code. Without wisdom, power blinds. Without courage, knowledge dies. Without justice, strength corrupts. Without temperance, freedom fades. The Stoic warrior walks the narrow path where all 4 meet, in balance, in calm, in control. He does not preach virtue. He lives it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And so he guarded his thoughts as a soldier guards the gates against greed, pride, and fear. This is the way of the Stoic warrior, to lead without arrogance, to fight without hatred, to endure without complaint. He walks in virtue, and therefore he walks in victory. There comes a moment in every warrior's life when he realizes the greatest battle was never out there. It was always in here. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of an empire, knew this truth better than any. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The Stoic warrior's final conquest is not of nations but of the self. The world promises power, but it only offers dependency. Money, fame, praise, these are not freedom. They are chains wrapped in gold. He who is enslaved to wealth, to fear, or to desire is a slave even in a palace. The Stoic warrior breaks these chains quietly. He owns little but possesses everything. For nothing that can be taken from him defines him. When he loses, he remains calm. When he gains, he remains humble. When he suffers, he remains unshaken, because his empire is internal, and no storm can invade the walls of a disciplined mind. The world may wound the body, but it cannot touch the will. The Stoic warrior builds his fortress there, in silence and virtue and acceptance. No man is free who is not master of himself. This mastery is not control over fate. It is harmony with it. It is the power to say this too is part of the path. The Stoic warrior's final act of power is to let go, to release resentment, to forgive the past, to accept the present, to stop demanding the world be different than it is. Marcus wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" The weak fight reality. The strong align with it. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he is not. To let go is not surrender. It is mastery, the ultimate expression of strength, because the man who needs nothing cannot be broken. The Stoic warrior walks alone, not because he rejects the world, but because he refuses to be ruled by it. He stands in solitude, not in sadness, but in sovereignty, for he has learned that freedom is not given, it is earned. One decision at a time, one thought at a time, one act of virtue at a time. Even at the end, Marcus Aurelius did not see himself as a conqueror, but as a student. Soon you will forget all things, and all things will forget you. To most, that sounds tragic. To the Stoic, it is freedom. Because once you accept impermanence, you stop wasting time on what fades. You begin living for what lasts: wisdom, courage, justice, and peace. The Stoic warrior trains not for glory, but for goodness. Not to impress the world, but to improve the soul. And that training never ends. Discipline is not a phase. It is a way of being. Every sunrise is a test. Every moment a chance to respond with reason or reaction. And each time you choose calm over chaos, you win. This is the empire within. No crown can grant it. No army can take it. It is built brick by brick, decision by decision, in the quiet corners of the mind. It is the realm of the calm, the domain of the disciplined, the sanctuary of the wise. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, 3 men who ruled nothing outside of themselves, yet mastered everything within. Walk alone, rise alone, win alone, not against others, but against the parts of yourself that seek comfort instead of courage, noise instead of clarity, approval instead of virtue. The Stoic warrior's path is not easy, but it is eternal, because the man who rules himself rules the only empire that truly matters, the one within.